Oh right, the whip-cracking, fedora-wearing archaeologist who's added more rare items to the National Museum than the amount of china dishes collecting dust in my mother-in-law's cabinets. And that's a lot, trust me. And the challenger, the gun-slinging mummy slayer, who's killed more mummies than LeBron James has buzzer beaters. And that's not that many, just so you know. Rick O'Connell, played by Brendan Fraser, 6'3", 195 pounds, up against Indiana Jones, played by Harrison Ford, 6 foot, 175 pounds. We put them in a challenge here today. This isn't going to be a fight to the death. What we are doing is a fight to the treasure. Both of these massive treasure hunters come from the golden age of adventure films. Who will get to that golden idol at the end of our set of booby traps?
What I said, booby traps! Quiet!
Alright guys, first off, talking about Harrison Ford in the role of Indiana Jones. Now, Indiana Jones was created by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. Harrison Ford is the iconic actor that plays this character. There's been 5 films in the franchise, 2 of them which we don't necessarily talk about in my household. But the other 3, absolutely amazing, kicking it off with, obviously, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Then The Temple of Doom, the prequel that most people don't realize is a prequel, and then The Last Crusade with Sean Connery being in that film as well. So absolutely iconic, all 3 installments, amazing in the franchise. India's went up against the supernatural, as well as the practical villain of Nazis. So how do we see him going up against Rick O'Connell? Brendan Fraser brought this character to life in the reboot of the Mummy series that was done by Universal Pictures. This film franchise has 3 installments, working on a 4th, which we're super excited about right now and hope that it comes to fruition. But this film franchise has Brendan Fraser as Rick O'Connell challenging mummies from Egypt all the way to China. Now, the 3rd film wasn't necessarily the best in our opinion, but it was good. It added to the content, very much in the eyes of a Jurassic World rebirth, right? It's good, not great, but it did add to the content, added to the franchise, and we're happy about it. So putting these 2 against each other, they are treasure hunters. Both of them have a well-rounded aptitude for adventure and action. So let's break these 2 down. We're going to break down their weapons, their skills, their experience, and see who comes out on top. Again, this is not a duel to the death. This is a race to the treasure.
You want the shotgun? No, I prefer the Thompson.
First off, guys, looking at firearms. This is going to be iconic for both of the characters who use firearms in both of their franchises. Rick O'Connell sports the Chalamet Delvin model 1873, and I'm sorry if I butcher these. I am trying my best here, but 6-round capacity in this weapon. It is typically dual wielded by Rick O'Connell with the philosophy of
fire enough bullets and hope to hit the target.
Indiana Jones brings a different revolver to the table, not dual wielding. He brings in the M1917 revolver. Also a 6-round capacity. Again, he does have 1, so he is focused on accuracy. As opposed to O'Connell, who is more so focused on how many bullets he can get out of the chamber. When you look at these 2 firearms, they're both pretty dependable. They both have a 6-round capacity. The dual wielding is definitely an advantage. Indy definitely focuses on more accuracy. What would you do here? In our opinion, when we took a look at this, we broke everything down. The extra 6-round capacity is the one that's going to give us the advantage here. We're going to give Rick O'Connell the advantage 7-9 when it comes to having more bullets to shoot at his enemies. Yes, he may be less accurate, but we are going to give him an advantage because he does have the more bullets in the chamber. So a 7-9 came out in Rick's favor, in our opinion, for firearms. Next on the list, we are looking at strength, okay? We did talk about these characters from their size. Rick O'Connell, 6'3", 195 pounds. Indiana Jones, 6 foot, 175 pounds. He has a 20-pound difference as opposed to Rick O'Connell. Rick O'Connell definitely takes the edge when it comes to strength. He's bigger. He's got more mass on him. He's going to be able to do more things from a strength standpoint. So if he needs to move something out of the way, push something out of the way, he's gonna have an advantage. Whereas Indy, he may do something a little more acrobatic, a little more avoiding or getting around objects instead of just barreling through. So there's pros and cons of both of those, but just pure strength, gonna have to go with Rick O'Connell. And it's also gonna be a 7 to 9 advantage on this. Not too much weight difference, 20 pounds, and yeah, their height's different, but we can't give it too much because Indy is fit, ready to go.
It's not the years, it's the mileage.
Just like Rick O'Connell, and so not a huge advantage, but hey, 2 points is 2 points. Next, we are breaking down Intellect. Guys, Rick O'Connell, he's a bit of a brute. That's what we see in the strength category. He did take the advantage there, but does that balance out with his intellect? Not really.
You always did have more balls than brains.
When you look at Rick O'Connell, Evie is the one who really helped him solve the puzzles. She's the one who helped unleash the mummies. Helped unleash the mummies? I don't know if it's a help when you're unleashing something that nobody wants alive and is trying to kill you, but she is the one that solved the puzzle. She is the reason that Rick O'Connell had the ability, the weaponry, to go after the mummy and end up defeating him. If it wasn't for Evie solving these things and figuring it out, he would not be able to do it. Okay, even Evie's brother, Jonathan, he ended up adding more to everything. You know, he knew how to interpret most of the language from the Egyptian writing, even though he couldn't get the stork, which is a metaphus. If you guys didn't know, that's something that, you know, Rick would never be able to do on his own. So he did need a lot of help. Looking at Indiana Jones, does that mean he's a clear favorite? Yes, he is. From an intellect standpoint, guys, we just bashed Rick O'Connell quite a bit. And up against most heroes, maybe that wouldn't be the case, but it's a huge landslide when it comes to Indiana Jones. He is a PhD professor in history, probably the top of archaeologists, probably the top archaeologist out there in the field. And because he teaches at a PhD level at universities, his intellect is second to none. He is great at solving puzzles. He is great at figuring out how to get past booby traps. Yes, booby traps. And that just sets him apart when it comes to Rick O'Connell and Indiana Jones. He can do so much more on his own and figure out how to get past these traps and things like that. Brendan Fraser, Rick O'Connell needs help from Evie, whereas Indiana Jones does not. This is going to be quite a big advantage, 10 to 6 in Indiana Jones' favor. And then we're going to look at special tools here, guys. Okay, special tools. When we're talking about this for Rick O'Connell, the iconic thing that we think of is that really cool Egyptian sword that he used. He slayed multiple mummies with this sword. It's huge. It looks great. I wish I had a replica of it myself, hang it up on the wall. My wife would freak about that. But absolutely amazing. He doesn't necessarily have the best technique. Wields it like a baseball bat for the most part. So he doesn't necessarily use it in the right way, but it's a really cool, iconic piece. And hey, a sword is a sword, and it is a big, powerful one. Now, when it comes to Indiana Jones, guys, we're looking at the classic bull whip. Yes, Indiana Jones is bringing a whip to the fight. And in this classic weapon for Indiana Jones, it is so iconic for him. Not just the fact that this is used to attack enemies. No, he can disarm opponents with this. He can also use it to swing across like Tarzan if he wants to.
Tarzan.
Using this, he is able to get around multiple objects, multiple booby traps.
Besides, you know what a cautious fellow I am.
Obstacles in his way, he can get around it and move on to whatever treasure he's trying to get to.
No treasure is silver and gold, mate.
Because of the multifaceted use of the bullwhip, we are going to have to give him the advantage when it comes to this. It is going to be an 8 to 6 in favor of Indiana Jones. And the last thing, guys, is experience. Okay, this one was pretty close when we looked at it initially. It looked pretty close. You know, both these characters have a lot of experience when you break it down. However, there's a difference between a lot of experience and a massive amount of experience. And Rick O'Connell, guys, he has faced global threats multiple times, and he's come out on top multiple times. Now, yes, he's used other people along the way with him, but not just his impact of fighting these mummies. He's a former French Foreign Legion soldier, okay, a World War I veteran. This is someone with military training, military tactics, the experience of that, going into something like this, it's definitely going to play a factor. Okay, now yes, it's not hand-to-hand combat. He's not just going to fight to the death with Indiana Jones. But when it comes to fighting up against any living obstacle that comes in his way, he's going to have a pretty good advantage of getting past them, whether it be an undead mummy or a Nazi. But guys, when it comes to Indiana Jones, he's had more adventures and collected more treasure over his years than Imhotep has in his army of mummies. So, a random hunt for treasure, which is what we're looking at here. It's a random hunt for treasure. Indiana Jones going after the artifact. We would have to give him the edge for this. He's going to be able to be patient. He's going to be able to be understanding with his experience of everything that he's done. Rick O'Connell has had a lot of help along the way in everything that he's done with Evie, Jonathan, and the Magi, obviously. So we would have to give the experience points to Indiana Jones. And it's going to be a 9-7 in Indiana Jones' favor. And guys, if you have been tallying and keeping up with the scores here, it's going to be a 37 from Rick O'Connell up against 41 for Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones taking the cake in this competition. He would get to the idol at the end. Obviously, if you've got a temple that's full of snakes,
I hate snakes, Chuck!
yeah, maybe Rick O'Connell gets the advantage there. But other than that, we have to go with Indiana Jones. With his experience, his knowledge, and his X-weapon factor of the multifaceted use of the bullwhip. This is why we'd have to give him the advantage ultimately. Indiana Jones comes out on top in this treasure hunt race. What did you guys think about this video? Did you like the outcome? Do you think Rick O'Connell deserves a little bit higher of a score? Do you think he deserves to beat Indiana Jones? Let us know down in the comments. If you are Team Indiana, hit that subscribe button. And if you appreciate the Mummy franchise, hit that like button. Let us know in the comments if there's a versus episode you'd like us to do. We've been pondering about a lot of different ones, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Christ is King.
Water! 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 They're digging in the wrong place.
Well, I thought archaeologists were always funny little men searching for their mommies.
What I said, booby traps! Quiet!
Golden idol at the end of our wielding. He is bringing to the table the Charlemagne. They both have a well-rounded